drawings that have the footprints and so forth. This might seem like nothing to you, but there was no mapping like this. We actually mapped the footprints. So now we're going to leave this behind, and you can actually tell what's there, because we couldn't even start until we prepared the maps. Okay, now this is the Perdido Key beach mouse habitat. I'm going to spend just a few minutes on this to explain. Most endangered species, like the Perdido Beach mouse, need to be identified. You do a study and say, where's the mouse? And then you stay clear of it. You stay clear of the mouse, stay clear of the owl, stay clear of the tortoise. This little creature is special. In this one, the entire habitat is in fact a place you cannot build. Okay? The entire habitat, even if a mouse has never been there. Just because the mouse might be there, or intends to be there, or could be there. So this is new, this is habitat. And this is how it happened that in some quite irrational places where you know the mouse wouldn't even want to be. Nevertheless, it has the flora and the fauna and the soils that the mouse would like. This is extremely unusual, and whatever you knew about endangered species, this is endangered species habitat. Okay? Because of that, it's mappable. All this orange is where the mouse could or may want to be. Normally, you don't get maps like this. You don't get maps like this because you have to spend a lot of money going out and observing where the mouse is and trapping evidence of the mouse and so forth. This one, it's mapped. So it's very interesting to get it. Now, this is a real problem for a lot of people, because people who thought they could build now can't. So there's of course, obviously, when there's something like this, a habitat, there's a mitigation procedure. You have the right to actually say, well, could I mitigate this? Could I minimize the problem because I would like to build here? Normally, that's a very lengthy and expensive negotiation. You know, for large pieces, it might take years and years and years and millions of dollars. WCI just went through something really enormous like that. Millions of dollars, half a decade to get there. Very kindly, your government and the planning department has negotiated, or is about to conclude, or keep your fingers crossed, negotiations with EPA in Washington, and is bringing the right to mitigate that locally. So if you want to build a house in one of these orange areas, or you want to build a project, you don't have to go to Washington. You can imagine what that's like. You can go to Tim and tell Tim what your plans are and try to minimize, and then you will be allocated at some cost, at a minimal cost. You have to buy the mitigation. Okay, it's a few $1,000s. You buy the mitigation so that some other habitat can be bought, or Tim's salary can be paid. You know, you need to do that kind of stuff to keep Tim here. Now, Tim is very willing to do this because there was a kind of political backlash against all this stuff suddenly being put orange. Now, so the first thing we encountered here is wherever we said, people said, do some planning, there's, you know, somebody's going to build here, can't you plan it coherently? We said, but it's mouse habitat. So we had to come up with something that dealt with a mouse habitat. And you will see when the plan comes up how we're going to use the mitigation creatively. Really, really creatively, okay? So that it turns from a negative to a positive. And I never thought the story would end up like this. I thought it would end up like oh, what a nightmare for everybody. I first thought that there was nothing, I don't know whether you heard the story, but when I first heard about this, I wanted to resign and say, I'm not going to take your money. There's nothing to be done here. The mouse has everything. And I don't know whether you were present, but I swear, there's nothing to be done, I said. There's nothing to be done. The mouse is everywhere. So what are we doing? And then I realized that this mitigation procedure was serious and it could be used creatively. So I'm going to talk about how that goes. So this is the mouse habitat. Okay. By the way, these are the wetlands. Remember, that was the old developer nightmare. It's not even, this is actually wet, you know. The Perdido Beach habitat is sand, so it's really a problem. By the way, there's something we're not engaging in. There's habitat on the right-of-way. The right-of-way, actually, the mice might like. It's the kind of sand they like. And so this widening that some of you are very much committed to also has an environmental problem that has to be mitigated. We are not engaging that. Okay, the mitigation within the highway we're not engaging. There are engineers doing that already and have been working on it. Okay, so that's outside of purview. However, we do have proposals for how to design the road. The mitigation we don't know. So these are the wetlands, and these generally we don't want to mitigate. Now, what is left is this, okay? This is the stuff that's developable. This is what remains. There's some lots. Mostly what's left are the old lots here that are built, and quite a lot of the golf course, the WCI golf course. Now, all this stuff is already built or has footprints on it. Is already built or has the old footings on it, the old slabs. Best thing that could ever have happened to you is that you didn't take your slabs away after the hurricane took it down. Because the mouse actually doesn't like concrete slabs yet. Okay? But they're studying it. So that's why, those of you who have slabs can build right here again. By the way, it isn't just the footprint of the building, it's the driveway as well. It's footprint and driveway. So anything you cover up with impervious surface has to be mitigated if you don't already have a slab and an old driveway. So this is the buildable land. Now these are the properties that have development agreements. These are properties that before the bust, before the Great Recession, were going to go forward. An awful lot of stuff was going to go forward. In fact, how many? 2,800 units. 2,800 unbuilt units were in process at the county. Remember, this entire key only has 3,500 built units. So already in process, before this recession, was almost as many units as you have. It was going to double in size almost immediately. That all got stopped. We have the plans and we put them in. Okay. By the way, the development agreements are designed to lapse. Because you can't just keep them forever, because you have new elected officials, new neighbors, you have to start again and ask. The mice may evolve as well. Everybody gets to have a say after a certain number of years. But in your lovely county, they're extending the development agreements. They just keep getting extended and extended and extended. So for all intents and purposes, the development agreements are real. Okay? They can actually build this stuff if they mitigate them out. So how do we unhook something? Basically what you should say is that all these landowners were not talking to each other. Do you have that drawing? Later.
Further down.
Okay, so we drew all the submittals for development, and of course every parcel was their own little kingdom. This is my little entry, this is my little idea, this is my little single driveway to Perdido Key Drive. And you can imagine what this is like, every single driveway into Perdido Key Drive. Just a nightmare for traffic, okay? Because only one road is in operation, and every impact, every incoherent driveway actually slows down the traffic. You actually don't have that many cars moving. What you have is a mess of driveways, okay? And only one driveway which actually connects. So, rather than allow, or even, let me put it this way, we cannot forbid everybody to develop independently. You can't forbid them. It's their right, they have an application. What we can do is encourage them, reward them for working together. You see how different that is? Okay, I'm going to say something and repeat several times. We're not going to forbid anybody, and this master plan does not forbid anybody from building what the current code says or building their old plan. But what we are going to say is that there's going to be a new master plan, and if you follow the new master plan, you will have your mitigation. Okay, it's going to be built into the master plan. You will have your mitigation, and it's going to take a lot less time and a lot less money. It's going to be more predictable. So we're not punishing anybody, right? You can do the same old thing, although there's a new punishment called the habitat of the Perdido Key. That's a new punishment. What we're saying is we'll relieve you of that punishment, and the county itself will actually mitigate this. They will mitigate it for you. So the master plan will be mitigated so you can get on with it quickly. Okay? Now, I know that's almost impossible to believe that government is going to make something easy. But we've checked, and it sounds like a really good idea with everybody. Next. Now,